Well, it's elimination time, elimination game for the Tampa Bay Lightning. The next couple will be anyway, as they move home to Emily Arena tonight to play Game 5 against the Florida Panthers. So explain to me this, Steve Versnick. Remember the hit that Brandon Hagel took from Aaron Ekblad in that game?
The one that's knocked him out for Game 5 because he's already been ruled out?
Correct, yeah. He's not able to play. John Cooper says, well, no, he won't be going, and I don't have to tell you why. Apparently, the NHL looked at that in frame-by-frame manner from certain angles and whatnot, even though it was obvious in real time. And they decided that Aaron Ekblad should be suspended. Suspended not for 1, but for 2 games. That's how egregious this hit was. That's how intentional it was to the head and neck area.
Which typically a suspension for a playoff game is more like 2 games in the regular season.
Right,
exactly.
Kind of
decide that. Now, part of it may be, and we're going to talk
Hagel
about
is out, right?
Well, Hagel's out, but Mikkola only got fined for that hit on Gergensen.
Right.
But he was assessed a 5-minute major and a game misconduct and kicked out of the game.
But at least they called that, yeah.
Right. Where Ekblad wasn't and stayed in the game. Wasn't even called a penalty on the ice.
Right. Not even a power play.
That may be part of it. Had he been kicked out at that point, maybe he only gets 1 game.
So you think Mikkola's getting time served, basically?
I don't know if it's time served. And Mikkola's hit wasn't nearly as egregious as...
He did board him, though.
Well, no. It was a hit. I mean, he got fined. He was 5-minute major, which was reviewed on the ice and confirmed.
And that should have cost them a game, but the Lightning can't score.
Right, but yeah, had they capitalized on that.
Right.
But I mean, the Ekblad hit was... That is the textbook of intent to injure.
Absolutely.
Like, he saw who it was and wanted revenge.
Yes. That was with a purpose.
Said,
yes.
I'm trying to take him out. And I don't understand leagues that are okay with that. And you'll say, well, he was suspended 2 games. I mean, think back a couple years ago in the Lightning Toronto series. Michael Bunting took a cheap shot on Eric Chernak. He got suspended for 2 games. But Chernak was out for the rest of the series.
Yeah, how's that fair?
And Chernak's a much more important player than Bunting. Like, you're rewarding guys that intend to injure. Look, injuries are going to happen, and hockey has hitting, and players are going to get hurt sometimes with legitimate hits, right? But these hits, the Tkachuk one, which wasn't nearly as egregious as the other 2, but the Mikkola and the Ekblad, they were all trying to hurt somebody. That wasn't a course of play happened to, foul somebody. That was, I saw someone down on the ice and I'm going to hit them against the boards. It wasn't like he had just fallen as he went to hit him. He was down on the ice and Mikkola hit him. And Ekblad, which they've said 2-game suspension, I mean, he saw who it was, raised his elbow and drilled his head. Like, those are things that you should be thrown out of leagues for.
Yeah, well, they're not going to do that. I mean, it's ironic, and don't you think, that Ekblad was the guy who scores the tying goal. I mean, shouldn't have been in the game, and he's still on the ice to do that, where Hagel can't come back and won't be back tonight either, if he even is back in the series at all. So, yeah, it certainly worked out in their favor. And they're going to make a run. And listen, here's the other thing that I wonder about this, because, I mean, these are all hockey players, and the NHL is a rough and tumble league, and we know that. And you get to the postseason, sometimes they swallow the whistles, but it's even more desperate. You get a lot of hitting and things like that. But have the Lightning been sort of head on a swivel? I don't know that intimidated is the word, but they've certainly been out hit. And has that begun to get into their heads? In other words, like, they don't have much time or space anyway because of all the forechecking and just how tight of a defense that Florida plays. But if you're worried about getting splattered up against a board, doesn't that start to creep into your head during the series a little bit?
Well, and that's why you want to be physical in the playoffs. And
right.
But like I said, the intent of being physical
versus hurting
the intent of I'm trying to knock you out of the game is very different.
Yeah.
I'm trying to knock you out late. Mm-hmm. Or, when you don't have the puck, or when you're not looking, or when you're already down on the ice, like that. That's different than you have the puck against the boards and I'm going to check you.
Right.
Which, you try to do that to get in their heads so that they make that pass a little quicker or aren't skating quite as fast because they're looking around. Like that's what your intention there. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's when the whole intent is to take someone out of the game or to injure them. Like, that should never be your intent. It happens, yeah, but you want to be physical. You want to be, I mean, I think most defensive linemen are trying to sack the quarterback. I don't think they're trying to take him out of the game.
Right.
It happens sometimes because football is a violent sport, much like hockey can be too. But football has figured out, hey,
we got to protect our stars.
We want our stars to play.
Yeah. We're a better product, and people will watch us more.
Right. I mean, is hockey better off not having Brandon Hagel in this game, and who knows how many more if the Lightning can
Florida
win?
is, but not hockey.
Well, right. Or if name the star player that gets hurt.
Right.
Like, do you want those guys hurt on those kind of plays?
Right.
Like you're making your sport worse. You're making the product worse. There's nothing good that comes out of it. And if the Lightning did that to a Florida player, I'd say the same thing. Like Hagel's hit, I said the other night, was not a good hit on Barkov.
Right.
And I didn't have a problem with the suspension.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was not a good hit. Now, I don't think he had the intent. I think he thought Barkov played the puck. But even if he played the puck, he made a bad hit, raised off the ice some, went high. It was not a good hit.
No.
But I don't think it was I think it was an intent to make a physical hit when he thought he played the puck. I don't think there was the intent of, let me take him out of the game. So,
I mean, Kachuk drew a 5-minute penalty too.
Yeah, but it was
for interference.
They were scoring the fourth goal with 5 minutes to go. They were a four goal lead. I mean,
it didn't matter
puts in the empty, or Gensel passed it up to Cirelli to put in the empty net with 5 minutes to go. It was now 5-1.
No, I know.
Cared less if he was kicked out.
It didn't have an impact at that point. Yeah,
like it meant nothing. So he didn't have to sit on the bench and watch the last 5 minutes of them lose.
Yeah, you know what was disappointing to me? Like, a lot of guys yuck it up in between periods in those studio shows and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
But they kind of they sort of played Mark Messier a little bit. Like, they came back and they were going to show, the hit that got the suspension. And instead it was a bunch of clips of Messier just destroying guys, cheap shot after cheap shot, forearms, unsuspecting elbows, and that's the way the game was when Messier was, playing for the Oilers and the Rangers and stuff. And I get that. And that's what they've tried to take out of the game, but there were headshots then. And those guys sit on there in the studio and they say, yeah, that's the way it was, look at that. And it's like, you're the problem. Like, the root of this sport is violence. I mean, you got guys with blades and sticks on the ice skating 100 miles an hour towards each other. And he was saying, he goes, yeah, no helmets, notice no helmets, no face masks. It's like, yeah, you guys used to whack each other's melons open. That doesn't make it better hockey.
Well, but back then with a lot less padding,
true,
guys were more respectful of everything. I mean,
were they? Because the hits I saw, it didn't seem that way.
Well, but it also used to be, if you weren't happy with the Hagel hit on Barkov, which obviously Florida's not.
Yeah.
So if you're not happy with it, then you go fight Hagel.
Yeah, you drop the gloves. You don't try to
cheap shot him.
Yeah.
Take him out of the game. You go challenge him to a fight and go fight him. That's the way it's always been done in hockey.
Right.
You answer for the hit. Okay. But that's not what Florida's doing.
Or you score, and that's what the Lightning did. They internalized it and scored twice in 11 seconds. All of a sudden, they had a 2-1 lead.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you really get even.
Well, yeah, that's the best way to do it.
Yeah. Not fight, stay out of the box and then let them get in trouble, but they couldn't capitalize on the 5-minute. And they wind up losing the game. And so here we are. This could be the third straight year, Steve, that they're one and done in the postseason. And, of course, Florida is the hump that they can't seem to get over. How concerned, first of all, I think there's about a 80 to 90% chance that you're not going to come back and win the series when you're down 3-1. That said, they have to try to win a game at Amalie and then take their chances after that. But elimination game, how concerned should people be that if it ends tonight, that this group, this core that has been together now, and the core has been extended, right, with Hagel and some other guys.
Mm-hmm.
How concerned should they be that window has closed? Three straight first round exits, does it look like that bridge is going to have to be blown up?
That's a good question. And blown
Maybe.
up, I would say no.
Yeah.
But the hard part is the way the playoffs are. And we talked about this a little bit last night. Like, you're playing the Atlantic Division in the playoffs, which is, as far as at the top of the division, been the best division in hockey for 5-6 years now.
Right.
So whether it was Toronto, Boston, Florida, Tampa Bay, it was always those four. Boston not this year, but and so you're always playing a really tough first round opponent.
Mm-hmm.
One of those four. And 2 years ago they got knocked out by Toronto. Last year by Florida. And Florida went on to go win the Stanley Cup last year. So, a loss to Florida in this series. If you're watching the series, do you think it needs blown up? I'd say not. I mean, the harder part, or where it becomes difficult, is everyone's locked into contracts. Is all the big core. I mean, there's a few, like Nick Perbix is going to be a free agent. There's a few like that, but Luke Glendening. But the big guys are all under contract, which is good and bad.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still a team that got you 100 points in the regular season. It was a top 5 scoring team, a top 5 defensive team, top 5 power play, and top 6 penalty kill, I think.
Right. But do you run the risk of becoming what, for a while Pittsburgh became? Or maybe even Boston, they hang on to their stars too long, and
Well, until this year, Boston was challenging for division titles, which, if you're challenging for a division title, then you're not that far off.
Yeah.
I mean, the hard part about the playoffs is you're playing really good teams.
Yeah, and the hardest part for them is they're playing Florida every year, first round.
Exactly, Florida, Toronto.
Yeah.
These are really good teams with.
But you got to find a way to get past those guys. So you've got to build your team in a style that you can combat their their forechecking and the physicality that they have. Because if you don't build a team that can match up somehow with style of play, you're going to have this happen not just 3 years in a row, but maybe 4, 5, 6. Who knows how long this keeps happening?
Yeah. So I don't think they're at the stage of where Detroit was for years, just making the playoffs, but not really having a shot to win. I don't think they're there.
Right.
But I also know Julien Brisebois is not afraid to make bold moves.
Mm-hmm.
So if they go out for a third straight postseason in the first round, could I see him making a trade or two to shake up this roster?
Better.
I wouldn't put it by him at all.
I think you'd almost have to. I mean, you can't just do the same thing, load up the same guys that all be a year older and think they're going to be better.
They haven't had the luck of health this year in the postseason.
True.
I mean, Bjorkstrand, who you traded for, out. Hagel has missed, a game and a half, and now going to miss game 5. So half the series.
Right.
At least.
90 point scorer, 35 goals.
He's one of your best players this year. One of the best players in the NHL this year, period.
Right.
So health hasn't helped them.
No.
Could I see Julien making a big move this offseason, much like he did last year trading Sergachev? Yes, I could. I don't know what that would be.
Right. I just don't think you can stand pat,
That's not his nature, not at all.
No, hasn't been. Mm-mm.
It's going to be an interesting conversation if they can't win 3 in a row and move on. But even if they get to the second round and don't advance, it could be the same conversation. To be honest,
it could be. It feels 2 things that are the same. First round exit against Florida, so you better find a way to construct a team to beat those guys since they're the top of the East the last few years, and you keep going out of the playoffs with them. This is the Philadelphia Eagles, right, to the Buccaneers. I mean, this is what this is. Now, I know that, obviously the Bucs had not won Super Bowls when John Gruden was trying to beat Philadelphia, but Tony Dungy kept having his season die up there, and that's why he got fired. And they even lost to Philadelphia earlier that year in 2002. But during that game, Gruden figured out a few things, and one of the things he figured out was their big linebackers, which were not 225, 230-pound guys. They were more like 245-pound guys, were not able to cover inside if they could match them up against some of their receivers like Juravicius and some of the Keenan McCardell, some of the guys in the slot. And so he learned that through getting hammered during the year, and then they went back up there and they exploited it and they won the game. But every year for about 2-3 years there, the Bucs season would go to die against the Eagles. They just did not match up with well of them. They didn't play well against them. They couldn't score points. And that's necessitated the coaching change. I'm not saying they need to fire John Cooper because that should and never will happen right now. But they do need to combat the way Florida is built. I mean, they have to do something to, to match up better somehow, because they're not going anywhere. They're going to be around, and you're probably going to have to beat them in some round. It just happens to be the first lately. So change something to gear up towards what it takes to beat Florida. And the guy said this today, like I was reading some of the comments in the press conferences, and it always comes down to this, right? It's like, quit trying to make the perfect pass. Just get pucks on net and grind away like they do. And we just have to accept that that's the way we got to play. Cooper says they've had more shots towards the goal. They just weren't on goal. Some of the shots were wild. He feels like they're still getting them. They're just not getting them, between the pipes where it would register as a shot on goal. I don't know that I agree with that, but, clearly they need to shoot more because.
Well, he is right. They are getting a ton of shots blocked and missed, and they're missing a lot of shots.
That's what he said.
I mean, I listen to the radio call a lot, obviously, as part of my job and that, and it's miss the net, miss the net, miss the net. Like you hear Mish say it all the time.
Yeah.
And it's not easy in that too. I mean, Florida's a really good defensive team. They are.
They really are, yeah.
They have a really good forecheck, but they're really good defensively too.
Yeah. Yeah, the goaltender's good as well.
Yes.
It starts with him.
I don't know how much he's been tested this series, but he is very good. Won a Stanley Cup.
Right. Well, he's tonight will be it. It's either do or die, and I think that the fans have a chance if the Lightning can do something they haven't done, which is score early and take a lead in a game. But if they can keep the crowd in it, you got to approach it like they do. It's one game. You got to try to win a game, and then you worry about how big the mountain looks after that. But you can't. You're not going to win 3 tonight. So sometimes I think, Steve, that the more desperate team wins. I just think sometimes that happens. What I'll be interested in is, will the Lightning, who have put plenty of hits on the Panthers, but will they come out with a little more, revenge on their minds? Will they hit a little harder? Will they?
They might hit a little hard. I don't think it's going to be revenge, because the worst thing they want to do is get a penalty.
Well, you want to stay out of the box for sure,
right? But are they going to look to take advantage of every available check? Possibly, sure.
Or do you come out and send a message and say, "Let's hope our power play works because we're going to go ahead and make a run at somebody"? Let them know we're not backing down.
No, I wouldn't do anything out of. Like last game was 2-1 until you gave up 2 goals late. Like you can't give up a penalty kill chance just to make revenge.
Right.
That's the worst thing you can do. Like penalties are going to happen, but you can't go out like we're just going to get a penalty early just to send a message. Because you know what? Letting them score the first goal again, which they've done in all 4 games of the series, means you're just chasing the game.
Yeah, that's what they've done too much.
Right. Like if anything, you want to go out there and make sure. Play so hard they're forced to foul you, so you get the power play.
Right.
Like it'd be nice if the Lightning got an early lead.
Oh, that's what they've led for such a short period of time in this series. Of course, they led for a good period of time in the last game until they didn't. But before that, every time it seems like Florida's up 1-0 and starts the game with a 1-goal lead every single game. So yeah, they got to score. You got to score early. You got to keep the crowd in it for one thing, because it's a very nervous crowd. When nothing's going on or they're trailing, it gets very quiet, So the crowd's got to do their part. But yeah, win a game. I don't think they're going to win the series, but I do want to see their fight. Like I think if you're going to see a team fight back in every way you can fight back on the ice, I think tonight will be the night that will test that. I really do. All right, we got your mailbag questions coming up here in just a minute, all answered 100% correctly. But first, get on down to International Plaza Mall and see our good friends at Breitling Boutique. That's Breitling Boutique. They've been making these watches now, one of the best Swiss watchmakers in the world for over 140 something years. They've been at International Plaza for going on 5+ years, and they have every collection you can imagine of great timepieces for men, the chronomats, the Navatimers. For women as well, they have beautiful sports watches. These things are durable for your wife, for your girlfriend. And they have been running this celebration, if you will, of the NFL's 104th year anniversary. And they have 32 team watches. Each team has its own watch, the beautiful chronomat watch with the team colors on the face of the watch, the logo inside. These things are stunningly beautiful. You can probably see one on tampabay.com on our website. And check that out. But you're going to love it if you're a sports fan, if you're an NFL fan. They may have it for you. It's Breitling Boutique, International Plaza Mall. Make sure that you go in there and you let them know that you heard about all of this on Sports Day Tampa Bay. All right, we got some mailbag questions. We can attempt to answer those.
All right, Craig asked, do the Bolts need to find a new quarterback for the power play? Also have 7 defensemen on the roster. How many are back next season? I think the bottom half needs to be moved on from. Also, is JBB's seat getting warm yet?
JBBC?
JBB seat. Julian Breezebois.
Oh, Julian Breezebois. I didn't get the JBB part. Okay, Breezebois. I'll answer the last one first. No. Okay. No. Maybe hell no. I don't think it's getting too hot. I'm sure he's not happy about his team bowing out of the playoffs in the first round, and he will make changes like we just discussed. But I think the Lightning should and probably would trust him to get it right, to continue to get it right. So I don't see Breezebois necessarily going anywhere. There's a 3-part question. What are the first 2?
Well, the power play, the quarterback of the power play. Right now, it's basically Kucherov.
Yeah. I mean, who would you put in the point? Would it be Hedman? I mean, Kucherov does it from the side, but
I do think you need to probably adjust occasionally, like in a series like this with Florida, where they've shut Kucherov down.
Yeah, do something
that you
different.
could run it
Move
from the
him.
point instead of the half wall.
Yeah.
Let Hedman kind of quarterback it.
Right.
I think there are some adjustments we made there. I mean, Kucherov still he's the best in the world at running an offense from the half wall.
Yeah.
There's no question about that. But they're struggling in this series, so could you make some adjustments that way?
Right.
I don't know if you want to not make Kucherov the focal point of your power play permanently. But, there are times where you have to change things up periodically.
Well, the one thing I'll say with Hedman up top is that he will shoot it. It may get blocked, but he's going to shoot it. So,
yep. And then the defense, he asked about the 7 defensemen who's back next year.
Oh, yeah.
All of them are under contract except for Nick Perbix, who's unrestricted free agent.
Yeah, I don't know.
My guess is he's not coming back.
He'll move on, I would think, yeah.
Because Max Crozier is ready to come up from Syracuse.
There you go.
And we've seen him play a few games here and there.
Right.
He is tearing it up in Syracuse right now. And he's NHL ready now. And he's a right-handed shot defenseman. So I think Nick Perbix is not back. Could they make a move and change out Radish or Lilleberg? I don't think you're changing Hedman, McDonough, Chernak, or Moser. Victor's your captain. Obviously, McDonough will be entering the last year of his contract. Chernak and Moser are a lot younger, obviously. I don't think those 4 are getting changed out.
Right.
Although, if you want to make a big splash.
Well, do you need – here's what I'm thinking. Do you need a enforcer type? I'm not saying, like Pat Maroon type, right, where if somebody instigates something, he's going to finish it, or just become more grimy on defense. I don't know. It seems like there's a physicality that's lacking. I don't know that they're going to change their style just to suit Miami or Florida Panthers, but
I think you'd more rather find a guy like Maroon that you're going to put in your bottom 4th line.
Yes.
Not necessarily in defense.
No, that's true. Yeah.
Could you find somebody, to kind of take that role a little bit? Sure. I think, unfortunately, Pat Maroon, great player, hell of a career, but later in his career just was slow.
He couldn't skate. Yeah.
Yeah, once he was in position, like great hands, great player,
Yeah.
did a
But
lot of
getting
stuff
him
on the
there was
bench, did a
trouble.
lot of stuff. Sometimes he'd drag his team into the fight.
Yeah, he would. Sometimes he'd drop him on the faceoff.
Right. Sometimes fight, but I mean, sometimes it was just
His style of play.
just kind of getting the guys involved.
Right.
I mean, Pat Maroon's a hell of a player, and he's going to be at Amalie Arena tonight. So,
Well, that'd be cool
for Game 5. So,
the big rig.
breaking news there for you.
Yeah. A little promo action there.
So yeah, he'll be in the house at Amalie Arena.
I got news. You know who might also be in the house? Me. I may actually go to
Really?
a game. Yeah, it hasn't happened often. It might take my youngest. We'll see.
Well, I've heard a couple other celebs maybe in the house too. So
Not bigger than that. I mean, come on. Who else we got?
I can't say because it's just rumors at this point.
Baker Mayfield,
I can't say. I just
the number one draft pick. We got to get him over there, don't we?
Can't say. Well, I don't know if he's still in town or.
Well, I don't know. Did you read this story? So, it's a little on the side of the mailbag. Jason Light was on, I think he was on NFL Network, talking to somebody, and he was talking about Baker's reaction, to drafting a wide receiver. And it wasn't, I guess it wasn't totally unexpected. I mean, if you pay attention, you figure that you've got some guys that are getting older there, and they had injuries last year. And so we had, everyone had discussed the possibility anyway, of them getting a receiver like Emeka Buka. I don't know that we had Emeka Buka per se. By the way, I think he also was one of the highest guys on their draft board, like legit. Like even though he went 19th, I don't think they thought he would necessarily be there. They had him rated way higher than that. But that aside, so supposedly, of course, Baker was excited when he got him, and he sent some profane text that Jason couldn't repeat. But then himself, Emily, his wife, showed up on, would have been Saturday because I got in here on Friday afternoon. And of course, Emeka's family was here too. They showed up and took them out to brunch. Like, that's how you connect with my quarterback, right?
Absolutely.
Like, first day, we're going to brunch, bro. Let's go. So I thought that was kind of cool. I mean,
absolutely.
Baker is such a dude anyway, and of course Emily's great, but like they just get it. You know what I mean? Like they just get it. These are guys that have had plenty of accolades, and they really do just want to win. And if there's one thing Jason Light has done really, really well, it's find guys that are, like-minded in that winning, it takes precedence over their personal goals and all of that. But I'm sure Baker is thrilled to have another weapon like Emeka, but I thought, that's your quarterback right there, right? Like, hey, not only am I going to text him, give me his number, all that, but you show up on a Saturday morning, after they flew in Friday and went through the car wash, so to speak, and then you say, hey, we're all going to go to breakfast or brunch or whatever. I thought that was cool.
All right, Tommy asks, if the Bolts get knocked out in the first round again, do you see some changes being made to Coach Cooper's staff? I think Cooper's safe, but could they part way with any assistants?
Ooh, changes. I don't know, Steve. I mean, are you going to beat up the power play situation that you've had in the playoffs where you haven't scored in 14 tries or something?
Yeah, I don't know if
is there
Cooper
a special
would make
teams
any
coach?
I mean, like I said, this team still had 102 points in the regular season.
Yeah,
7 wins.
Damn well, yeah.
Now could some of the coaches get bigger, better opportunities? Could one of them be hired as a head coach somewhere?
Yeah, well, we're talking about this guy's gone. He's going to pay the price. Like, I think he's talking about like held some heads will roll. I need some, as they would say, I need some butts.
I don't necessarily see it, and I don't think Julian Breesbaugh is the type of GM that says you have to make changes on your coaching staff.
Yeah.
Which we've heard, GMs in the past and in different sports have done
that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they have.
I don't know if Julian's that way, or I think he pretty much lets Coach Cooper run.
He gets to pick the coaches. Yeah,
I think so. So I wouldn't foresee any, but that's not to say
couldn't happen.
Couldn't happen, or are some of the coaches unhappy here and want to do something different too? I mean,
yeah.
That's
aside from the ones
too.
that might get opportunity, and there's always been a lot of those guys, but yeah, I don't know if somebody will be held responsible and get fired or something like that. It's interesting, though.
All right, we got a couple of baseball questions here. Rooting for UF asks.
Oh, yeah.
Given the Rays' recent performance on the road, Should they replace the Rays baseball home signage with the Yankees?
Novel idea, right? I like it. Hey, let's fool them and make them think they're not really at home. It's weird because it came back to Steinbrenner. You know, they were this hot team that won 5 out of 6 and two of the tougher teams in the NL West. And they come back home and it's like, yeah, we don't like it here. We really don't like it here. And they lose 3-1. It was 2-1 until the ninth. Man, Danny Jansen hit a ball that should have been. It sounded loud. It had velo coming off the bat, and it absolutely died in that wind, which is unpredictable at times, and it was not helping balls that were hit to the outfield. I thought that was for all the world. That was the home run. Like this is it. He got into it. But the Steinbrenner Field has not been kind to the Rays, man. It's just not. It's not. Doesn't feel like home. You know.
Well, sometimes it takes a while for it to feel like home. I mean,
I guess. I don't know. When you move into a new home, yeah, it depends on if my furniture's there, everything's there.
yeah, I mean, but you walk around in the dark and you run
Hitting
into this because you don't
boxes.
remember where this
Yeah,
is, and then
that's right.
you know.
Yeah, my son was way across the house, and he got scared, and he's
Yeah.
started coming into my bed the first night. He was 7. I was like, dude, that's why you have your own room. It's too far away. It's like, okay, come on,
Yep.
But yeah, you got to get used to your surroundings. Listen, I just think that the Rays, for the most part, are going to be challenged offensively pretty much all year. They can pitch, and they've got some guys like Chandler Simpson that can set the table for them. They're going to have their the Yandy Diaz's, and eventually hope they've got to get Josh Lowe back. Brandon Lau's had some bad luck. He's not off to a good start, but he's hit the ball really hard. Junior Caminero, by the way, coming alive.
Another
He had a
home
home run, 3 hits the other day.
Johnny DeLuca setback.
Yeah, setback for him. That's tough for Johnny, even though there's they've had a lot of new outfielders up this way. Yeah, it's going to be a struggle. It's going to be a struggle to hit and score runs, and then some nights like they had in San Diego and others, they're going to fill up the stat sheet. But now they're 1 game under 500. They just got to learn to play in their new digs. If they can figure out how to play in that ballpark, which is tricky. There's no foul area. Like, it really is odd to see a Major League Baseball field. I'm used to seeing the Trop with all the foul territory, but it's really odd to see teams playing a Major League Baseball game where literally when you get behind third base, there's like a foot where the ball can land and not, hit the railing and be foul. Like, you can almost not hit a foul ball down either line. The Rays managed to do it, but it's so tight down there. Like, it pitcher's friend, I would think, for sure, because everything's foul. They, it's not a pitcher's friend; it's an offensive friend. Because if you foul one off, it may not be caught because there's no room to catch it. But that should translate into a higher ERA and everything like that. Look, they're pitching really well, and they're going to. But hitting, they've just been kind of up and down at Steinbrenner.
All right, Patrick asks, what is your take on the recent social media posts from Wander Franco? They seem cryptic. I see his trial is coming up.
I don't know what to make of that. It is odd because he's been silent up to this point. Sometimes when you're faced with the reality, the impending reality that's coming with his trial, you get a little nervous. You may put out some messages. I don't really get it. I'm not sure what he means by some of it. Like, my guess is he's going to get convicted, although I don't know enough about the case to make a judgment. But I wouldn't want to be him.
I kind of felt it was like the kid found the cell phone.
Yeah, a little bit
taken away, and
a little bit.
Like, why are you posting now with a month to go with your trial?
Right, it's stupid. There's no tactical reason it would seem, but there he is doing it, and then predicting he's going to play again, which, buddy, that's a long way off.
Although interesting is not the right word, but if he is not convicted,
well, if he's not convicted, he's technically free to come back. Now that doesn't mean
baseball still got to do their investigation.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. They have to clear him no matter what happens in the Dominican.
Yeah, if he's cleared in the Dominican, then baseball will do its investigation or whatever. But it'll be curious to see how that goes or what they do with that.
Might get time served.
It may be. And then at that point, the Rays are forced to take him back, whether they want him or not.
Ouch, babe.
I mean,
And
presumably,
they got a shortstop that's about to come on, right?
Or they owe $172 million of his contract. They want to cut him.
Yeah.
Which I don't think they're going to pay.
I think the Rays are looking pretty good in the infield. They got some solid defenders on that team.
Yeah, but I mean,
but you're going to take
forget what he's done. Just pure baseball ability and athletic ability.
Oh God,
he'd
you
be the
want
best
him back
player on this. He'd be the best player on this team. I mean,
no question. I mean, you're carrying Taylor Walls. I mean, you're a different ball club with him than without him. But I don't know what to make of that. Maybe it's just that it's getting close and he wants sympathy or, hey, remember me or something. I'm not sure why he's doing it, to be honest with you. All right, those are great questions. You can send more in anytime you get a chance. Do that on Twitter or X at SportsDayTV. You can reach me on Twitter or X at NFL Stroud, or my email address is rstroud@tampabay.com. Go see our friends at Breitling Boutique, International Plaza Mall, upstairs about the center of the mall. Great store, fantastic merchandise, some of the great timepieces that you will ever own, men's and women watches. It's Breitling Boutique. Make sure you let them know that you heard about it on Sports Day Tampa Bay. For Steve Versnick, I am Rick Stroud of the Tampa Bay Times. Have a great day, everybody.